welcoming the director and screenwriter of California Solo, Marshall Louis.
Hi, thank you all. I want to invite up a few very special people. I want to thank everyone all of you who came. I want to thank everyone who was involved with the film, who came, the cast and crew. I'd like to call up our producers are right here, Minette Louie and our co-producer Ross Gerard. Alexia Rasmussen who played Bud. We have A. Martinez who played Warren the boss. We have Savannah Latham who played Ariana. And I want James Laxton, the great cinematographer. And two girlfriends who did the music, if you guys could come up. And I also want to give a shout out to Sal, Heather Ford, who did the hair and makeup, was amazing, and Matthew Medlin, our line producer. Thank you guys.
And everybody's up right now? Great. So I'll do a couple questions first, and we'll turn it over to the audience to have their turn as well. Why don't you start with the origins? What inspired the story? Where did this come from?
Well, the movie, in case you didn't notice, there's a lot of Robert Carlyle in there. And the movie really started with the character. I had an idea for this character. I had an idea for taking a kind of a renowned character actor from the UK and putting him in an American independent film. And I wrote the part for Robert, and I had his voice in my head when I was working on the script, and it just made it really easy as far as screenwriting goes.
And in terms of Robert's participation, I mean, was this something that he immediately was into, or did you have to sort of convince him?
I did not. I read in an article that he met his wife at the Hacienda nightclub, which is the one that's sort of the Studio 54, the Manchester, England scene. And that was before I sent him the script. I kind of knew, I was like, he's going to do this one. And I sent it to him, and unlike a lot of stories, he read it, his manager read it in a couple of days, he read it in a couple of days. We got on the phone. He said, I have one question. Do you do rehearsals? I said, no. I hope that's the right answer. He said, good, okay, I'll do it. And then that was it. And the thing I didn't realize was that he knew a lot of these guys. Obviously, he kind of hit it big with Trainspotting and Full Monty, which was the peak of the Britpop scene. He knew the Oasis brothers and Paul Weller, the Jam. That's actually Paul Weller's bracelet that he's wearing through the whole film was given to him by Paul. So he brought a lot of that stuff that I actually didn't even know when I was writing, how much he could bring of that background.
And one last thing for me. So can you talk a little bit about the music in the film and sort of how that worked itself into the script and how you did all that?
It was music I loved listening to. I went and visited a couple of friends in Ireland when I was in college and came back with all this music, and I just listened to it all during the script. It was always just music that I love, and I think as far as how it relates to the character, like it does always have this really, it's obviously very produced compared to sort of a lot of music today, but it has a lot of heart, and it's kind of an anthemic, and it just, I don't know, there was something that kind of seemed to fit with this character and what he was going through and what he was hiding from.
So let's actually turn over to the let's turn it over to the audience if you have questions. There are volunteers with microphones, so just raise your hand, they'll come over to you, and we have one right there.
First of all, thanks for a brilliant film. I loved it. I loved it.
Thank you.
Some of it was a little uncomfortable to watch, from my own personal experience, but that's what it is. I loved A. Martinez's performance, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of Savannah. And of course, Robert Carlyle was brilliant. My question, since I've finally gotten to it.
No, keep going.
Is it? Yeah, you guys are great. But my question is, if you would share your experience or your background in music and alcoholism.
The film did come out of some experience with people who I know who have a history of alcoholism. While it's never said in the film, he's an alcoholic. It was the first question I got at the Q&A, so I guess it did come across. As far as music, I'm not a musician, I'm just a music lover. I was really fortunate to have Todd, who's here, and Joe Rudge, who was the music supervisor, who did a lot of work. It's really hard to find music by famous dead musicians who you can afford, who people have heard of. So he did a pretty amazing job.
Another question? Down here. Whoever says, or I can repeat.
I'm just yelling out. I just want to know where you got the accurate-looking legal advice on both sides of the DUI and immigration situation.
I get the question is about the legal information that was in the film about the DUI and the immigration.
Yes. Before I answer the question, I just wanted to mention, I forgot, Danny Masterson was in the film. He is in Park City, and last night he was cast in a Polish Brothers film that is shooting in Salt Lake City, and he started today. So he really wanted to be here. He was here as well yesterday. His shoot date is going late, and unfortunately couldn't make the Q&A, but I just want to let people know that. We wish he could be here. To answer your question, I talked to an immigration lawyer who I know. His name is Joshua Bar-David, and that was really where the story came from, the plot. You know, when I started to understand more about the fact that people with a green card, people who've been permanent legal residents, have been living here for 15, 20 years, have families, can be removed for an offense. And I learned about the bureaucracy of how it happened. I was like, well, that's kind of a thread. That's a spine for a movie. And all the bureaucratic twists and turns. It's all accurate. It's all accurate, you know, and it was through research. Sorry.
Cool. I'm going to do one that if I can. I'd like to hear from some of the actors a little bit about your experiences with the direction. Let's start with you. What brought you to the project? Was this something that you were read for, or was this something that was...
Yeah, I heard about the script, and then I got to read it. And hearing about it, everyone penned it there. Everyone talked about the script by finishing it and saying it's a really good script. It's really well written. I think I mentioned this to him. The experience of the audition was one of the most actor-friendly auditions in my very long career. And I thought that was a really good sign, and the generosity and respect that was afforded to us in the audition carried all the way through the film. It was a dream to work on this film. Marshall never allowed you to think you could do something that was wrong. So that was incredible.
Excellent. If we'll hear from you.
I became involved thanks to Skype. I should thank them because I live in New York and they were casting in Los Angeles, and I sent them a tape and had a Skype meeting with you, and then a Skype callback, which I'd never done before, which was kind of creepy.
It's hard to position the computer in the right place.
Yeah, it kind of felt like voyeuristic. But anyway, and the experience, I'm so lucky. It was really smooth, and everybody was so good, and Robert was so elevating, and Marshall was so patient and interested and fun. So it was really ideal. Yeah.
I had an amazing time on set. Everyone was just so sweet, and they were just like a family. And this was my first movies to work on, and it's just amazing with all of you guys. You're just all so sweet, and I learned so much from all the actors. And thank you for casting us as well, because it was just amazing, and I will never forget it.
While you're on the microphone, can you talk a little bit about the music in the film and your role?
So I did the original music, not the songs in the movie. And actually, I work by Skype as well. I'm based in New York, and the film was finishing in LA. So Marshall and I would do all our meetings by Skype, and I would send him music. So I think that we have maybe a sponsor.
That's a good idea.
But I didn't know Marshall. I knew actually Manette. And when I was first sent the movie, they accidentally sent it to me with a reel missing. So there was 15 minutes gone from the middle of the movie. The most important 15 minutes, it turned out, when I actually saw the whole thing. But I was still, and I didn't know that, but I still loved it. Which I think says a lot about Robert Carlyle's performance, which watching it just tonight on this huge screen just blew me away again. I mean, it really was incredible. And so the movie actually made sense, even though the story didn't make sense. And so, I really connected with it, and we just, talked a little bit about the sound of the music and stuff, but it was mostly about the feeling of this guy whose, whose history is sort of hovering, waiting for him. And we were, just trying to sort of express that in the music.
Great. And I think we have something over here. Yep, right here.
So I really appreciate the film. It had a very convincing quality to it. It had a documentary quality. And I know Sundance is going to London, and I'm just curious, this would do fabulous in the British Isles. So is this going to Sundance in London?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Sundance programmers. I agree.
I sadly cannot answer that question, but I'm sure we'll be announcing that lineup soon enough. Yes, next question. So do we have, in the back, yeah. So, if everybody hear that, as the film progressed, you found it harder and harder to be sympathetic towards Lachlan. How did you want the audience to feel about his character?
I mean, I want you to feel however you want to feel. Like the prior person said, it is meant to be as honest as possible, and I never wanted you to. It was never my main goal for you to like him. I did hope that you would want to watch him, that you'd find him compelling enough, or that audiences will find him compelling enough to watch. And if it's true, it doesn't matter. I think, and someone asked this question of Bobby yesterday, and he said the same thing. If it feels true, then I'm okay with it. It's not a question of whether I wanted the audience to I can't do a Scottish accent, but whether I want the audience to like him or not. And I feel the same way.
One other question for me then. You mentioned that you told Robert that you don't rehearse. So did you stick to script, or did actors ad-lib at all, or how did that process work?
I'm going to let Alexia answer this one.
There was a surprising amount of improvisation. But the structure of the script, of course. But Bobby is fond of doing his thing, so Marshall was very generous and let us do one take every scene, or I guess it's the last take of every scene. We get to do a flyer where it was sort of whatever we felt we wanted to do to get out. So I don't know if any of them ended up in the film or not. I can't remember which.
And is that something that you were comfortable with in terms of the way you usually work? And that could be for any of the actors as well.
Yeah, I was really excited by it.
It was great. At the end of the table read, Marcel approached and said, "How do you feel about improv?" And I was thinking, well, I feel okay about it. But normally when I think I wanted improv, it's because I have a problem with the script. Mainly either my template, my toolbox doesn't fit the vision of the character, or I just think there's something wrong with it. But with writing, you respect so much, you don't start off thinking about improv a lot. But it was, Carlyle is a force of nature, so it was extraordinary to work with him. And again, when you feel like you can't do anything wrong, that's when you can do what you do.
And what's your experience beyond this film earlier? Like, what else have you done? And have you had experience with improv?
I've been in Lost in Criminal Minds, and for TV you don't really rehearse. You just mainly audition, and then you film it right away or later on. But we didn't rehearse for this movie, so it was just kind of like the TV show. Like, you didn't really have to rehearse for it. So I actually liked it better. It was nice because you just got to go on set, do your thing, and get your characters. So I liked it.
And I think we have time for one more question if anybody's burning desire to say something right now. Don't be shy. Okay, great. You're right there.
Okay, I don't know what time frame you were shooting this, but was Robert's TV schedule an issue, or did he find out he was going to be Rumpelstiltskin during the course of this?
So the question is about Robert's TV shooting schedule and how that did or did not impact on the shooting of this film.
He had shot the pilot directly before this, and then he came and he made our little film. And I think the series got, remember the series got picked up when we were in prep or something, so he knew coming in that he was going to be going to Vancouver to shoot the series. But no, it didn't interfere. And we got to pick up the tab for Disney ABC for his visa, which was, I don't think is fair.
Well, I want to thank everybody here, and I also want to thank Marshall and the cast and crew for being here. So